Hi, it's Kai, and today we're going to be doing a Chatty Get Ready With Me life updates video just because some of what has been happening in life lately has been coinciding with like my uploading schedule and just things like that. And also I haven't done a video where I'm just sitting and chatting and doing makeup and it not feel like a lot of pressure to do a specific type of look or look a specific type of way. So I wanted to do that today. But since this is going to be a more chatty video, let's just stop the intro, stop the chatter, and get into it. So as I was saying, some of what was happening in my life or what is happening in my life has contributed to me not uploading and posting as frequently, and I did post a community update about it. And if you're on any of my other platforms or following any of my other platforms, then you would already know what's going on because I've talked about it, done like TikToks and did Instagram stories, the whole nine about what's going on. But basically my apartment has been dealing with a roach infestation. The earliest I can remember starting to see them, and they're like the little roaches, you know, the earliest I can remember seeing them was end of January, beginning of February, but it was just one sporadically. So I kind of was thinking, okay, I know that I've had, which is another thing I've been dealing with kind of at the same time, but separately, but also I feel like is contributing to the overall issue, is I had neighbors move in around October. And when they moved in was around the time that I had to renew my lease, or didn't have to, but I wanted to renew my lease because I was like, I want to kind of get myself a little bit more situated financially before moving again. And I want to make sure that the next place I move is somewhere, even though I have been here for quite a few years now, going on 3, I want the next place that I'm in to feel like home. There's an essence of here, I guess, where I still have some things that hadn't been completely unpacked yet. Still certain things in boxes, and like not wanting to put things up on the walls and stuff like that because I'm just like, oh, am I going to be staying here? How long am I going to be staying here if so? And that's something that I've struggled with in pretty much any place that I've lived, is me putting things on the wall, me making it feel like home instead of just kind of living out of boxes. And eventually some things kind of get put out and moved out, and then, okay, I don't think that this primer and the sunscreen that I have on are working very well together. I've got to wipe it off. Okay, so the Tarte, what is this? The Tarte Silk Canvas, liquid silk canvas. Not a good one to use on top of the Bioma sunscreen. It looks like they pill up together. So I'll have to try this maybe on a day that it's overcast and I'm not wearing sunscreen and not planning on going outside. What's still left on my face does feel like it mattified it a little bit, which is good for this time of year because we are finally getting some warm weather. So I just wanted to get myself a little bit more situated and feel a little bit more situated after, you know, leaving my corporate job to move somewhere else. So I renewed my lease here, and it was around the same time that those neighbors were moving in, and had those neighbors moved in and were showing out in this way like prior to me signing my lease, I would have just had to have found a different, you know, thing to do because they are disgusting. That's the only way that I can describe it. Like I said, if you're on other platforms, you've already heard me, you know, talk and rant about this, but they are the type of people who let their dogs poop and pee on the balcony. And so I had to multiple times, like within the first 2 or 3 weeks of them living here, I started noticing that. And at first I was like, okay, maybe it is just like, you know, they are moving things, they've got things going on. There's just a lot of hoopla going on in their apartment, and maybe they put the dog out there just to get the dog out of the way and it was an accident. But then I started noticing the dog poop like staying there and multiple spots of dog poop accumulating. Then I was seeing the dog out on the balcony just at any and all times. They had even put the food bowl and water bowl out on the balcony. And on top of that being, in my opinion, for extended periods of time, the way that it was for me, from what I observed, at least I should say. That is low-key animal abuse, on top of the fact that it's just nasty. Like, I don't want to go out on my porch or let my cats out on my porch and smell dookie and dog pee wafting over from the other side. So I contacted the front office, said, hey, this is what's going on. I took pictures because I'm a person, I'm not going to snitch on you if I don't have proof. That's why I don't snitch about things like smells and that type of, what do you call it? Because it's just kind of like, how am I supposed to prove that? It's also not something that's that big of a deal for me. Like, I was coming in from a Rover booking right now, and the whole hallway just smells like someone's having a good time, but it's like, you know, it doesn't smell in my apartment. So, but as I was saying, I took the photos and everything so that I could be like, yeah, this is actually happening. They said, oh, we'll reach out to them. And I think they did reach out to them, to be fair, you know, because the dog poop ended up getting picked up, you know, within a few days, and I saw the dog bowl go back in. But it was one of those things where it seems like after a few weeks, like they let it die down. After they thought that, I guess, no one was checking for it anymore, it started again. So I started noticing mounds of poop outside, the smell and all of that. And also the way the balconies are here, their balcony kind of faces my bedroom window. So if I have my bedroom window open, I can smell like what's coming from over there. I used to have some Indian neighbors who I loved. I used to love seeing them like walking, and they had a little toddler and everything. And even though sometimes their toddler screamed, now I'm just kind of like, I would prefer a toddler screaming, honestly, to nasty neighbors. Ideally, we wouldn't have to deal with any of that, and these apartments would just be soundproof enough to not have to deal with other people's kids screaming or people stomping, running up and down. My upstairs neighbors are the type where it sounds like a stampede going on up there at all hours, or like they're moving constantly, because anytime, like, I can tell when they're in their apartment versus when they're not, based on how their steps are, how much I can hear when they slam the door, everything like that. And I would say my apartment is actually one of the better insulated ones because it's an older apartment that's been renovated. Since renovation now pretty much just means adding some granite countertop, which in my case, my apartment is not even actual grit. Like, it is literally the plywood of the countertop and with like a peel and stick overlay. Same thing with the white cabinets here, all of them just peel and stick. And they're calling this a luxury apartment. Oh, it has white appliance, or not white appliances, stainless steel appliances. Big whoop. As I was saying, them allowing their dog to pee and poop on their balcony impacted like the enjoyment of my apartment. So I again had to, the front office, email them, say, hey, it started up again, send them the proof, new pictures, a whole set of new pictures, you know, and they were like, oh, we'll take care of it again. So while that did subside, and I think it might be because they got rid of the dog, which I'm hoping that is the case, because I'm sorry, anyone who is allowing their dog to pee and poop, and some people are probably going to feel attacked right now, but anyone who allows their dog like openly to pee and poop inside or on the patio, not even trying to use a pee pad or anything like that, but just literally everywhere, like, I don't think you deserve having a dog. I think what you're doing is basically borderline, if not actual, dog abuse, and like, that's not okay. Like, the one thing you can do if you have a dog is take them out or have a area for them to go out in. Like, even growing up, we had a lot of space in our front yard and backyard to let our childhood dog go out and just poop, and we didn't have to pick it up immediately, but we did pick it up. Like, it wasn't just like we left it there for the rain to go and the lawnmower. Like, no, we had to still pick it up at least every few days or at the end of the day and things like that. So it's really interesting to me that that's not the standard, or that there are really people out there who feel as though they shouldn't have to do that. And it's like, of course, I don't want to have anyone get rid of their pet necessarily, but at the same time, I also don't want to knowingly contribute to a pet potentially being mistreated. Like I said, I again contacted the front office, and while the pee and poop, it stopped, the holiday season kind of like passed, and then here we go. I think it was either the end of January or beginning of February, somewhere in there. I have a piece of hair in my eye, ouch. But somewhere in there, I guess the neighbors decided that it was like a regular thing. There's still hair in my eye. That it was a regular, normal thing to start storing trash on their balcony, like unsecured in a random paper bag. Hi, Miss Callie's up here. If you see the camera shaking or a tail end up going behind me at all, but they decided to start storing trash. And mind you, oh, it's okay, PP. It's okay. But they had come a few, a month or two into me living here, their son, because from my understanding, it's a woman, her son, and then the son's stepdad or her boyfriend, husband, whatever. So the son had come over again. Did I put any foundation on? Maybe not, but who cares? The son had come over to my apartment, came to my door and was like, oh, we do trash removal services, $1, however many dollars. It wasn't $1, but X many dollars for one bag, X many dollars for 2 bags. And I know that's because my apartment complex, despite being luxury, we don't even have like valet trash or anything like that, which I know people have varied feelings on valet trash, because on one hand, I know sometimes they do or don't pick things up. Actually, let me finish my eyeliner. Do I want to do like something kind of bold? Maybe I do. I think I'm gonna do something not necessarily bold, but just not putting the same color like a black liner on the bottom lash line. Also put this in my inner corner. But yeah, my apartment complex is so luxury, but we don't even have valet trash here. So what I'm thinking when they're coming to my door about that, or had come to my door about that previously, and then I'm seeing trash on their balcony, is like, oh, they're like storing the trash like in their apartment before taking, like, I don't know if there's anyone who actually took them up on their offer, but like they're storing trash in some way, shape, or form on their balcony. If they think that's okay to do on their balcony, like where people can openly see it, like what the fuck does the inside of the apartment look like? There was actually a butter wrapper that have flown from their balcony over onto my balcony. I had let my cat out on the balcony because she loves concrete time, and then I see her out the corner of my eye licking something, and I'm like, what is she licking on the balcony? Like, is she eating the spider webs again? Because that's something that Gingy does do sometimes. And I was like, no, that is a butter wrapper. So I obviously picked it up. Well, not even picked it up. Before I picked it up, I took a picture of it, took a picture again of their patio with like trash, household trash built up on it. Not even like old furniture or things like that, but just household trash. So I sent that to my front office again and was just kind of like, what do we have to do here to get them to not? Around the same time, again, is where I started seeing the roaches. I just bought some, regular roach spray, hot shot, what's the other one, Raid, and just killed them. And then I just kept seeing them with increasing frequency to the point where I was like killing 3 or 4 of them a day. And that's where I was just kind of like, okay, something's going on here. I bought again from the store some of those. Actually, before I say that, I contacted at the end of February, my apartment complex about pest control coming out. Pest control came. I told them, hey, I'm seeing roaches. I told them where they were at. Like, they were mainly in the bathroom area. And then there were some kind of at the bottom of my kitchen, like on the floor. He sprayed like behind my refrigerator, like in all the places. But he looked around and was like, it doesn't look like there's a nest inside your apartment. So I think these are just scragglers. Maybe they're ones coming from outside, da da da. And I was like, okay. Then again, I'm still seeing them with increasing frequency. So like 2 or 3 weeks later, I asked pest control to come back. I said, hey, there's still an issue here. I'm still seeing all of these bugs. So they came back, pretty much did the same thing they did the first time, said the same thing they did the first time. Oh, it doesn't look like there's a nest in here. And then just sprayed in the same places before, didn't put down any traps, didn't do anything other than just literally spraying like the baseboards and around that stuff, and then left. And I was like, okay, still seeing them, again, still seeing them with increasing frequency. I buy some of the like little combat baits from Publix. I had put them down in my apartment and I started seeing like dead ones. And I was like, okay, cool, that's great. What had really got me and what really like started the most dramatic part of this saga is that I had washed my skate gear because it, you know, sweating in it, it starts to smell funky and stuff like that. And I just want to take good care of it and not be that person in the skate class and skate rink who has stinky gear. So I washed it, had to hand wash it because it's, you know, padding and hard shell, you know, protection and stuff like that. So I hand washed it and put it on my, what do you call it? I have a, what is that called? Just like a hanger dryer, like, you know, like a clothesline dryer, but not a clothesline. It's a drying rack. So I put it on the drying rack overnight. It wasn't finished drying when I had it, and I wanted to put something else on the drying rack and just like shift where the drying rack was. So I had picked up the pads on a towel and put them on the floor, moved the drying rack, and I think I had gone into the kitchen and did something else. It couldn't have been even 10 minutes that the pads were on the floor. And when I went down to pick them up and put them back on the drying rack, I saw a whole bunch of like little white bugs crawling all over them. And when I looked closer, I saw that they were like baby, like the baby roaches. And I remember from looking on like the Reddits and stuff like that, the baby roaches can be white, or they're white before they change color and like become the nasty brown that we all know. And it's like, I know every animal, it's something that's hard. Every animal, every insect, everything has its place in this world. And I get that. But roaches and wasps are the two that I don't, like, we don't go together at all. I can't stand them. I just can't. So that freaked me out so bad that I called my parents just breaking down, and I was like, I see all these little, like I took a video of it, and then Gingy had seen a bug and it was already dead, and I would assume that it was poison, and she ate it, and that was freaking me out even more because I was like, I don't want her to be eating these poisoned bugs. So I again called my parents breaking down, being like, I think I have a roast infestation here and it's really bad, and like sent them the video. And they live 2 hours from Atlanta, and they came up, got some of the like foggers so that we could fumigate, and took me home for, I stayed in my hometown for basically a week. So we let the apartment get fumigated, and then my mom had come back up with me on, you know, the Friday. This happened on a Sunday, and then she came back with me on a Friday. So not quite a whole week, but you guys know the deal, basically a week. So she came back to help me like clean everything up and just for mental support. And when we were cleaning up, we still found like live roaches, and we were just kind of like, what the fuck? So we went up to the front office because I had also been emailing the front office about this issue, saying, hey, we also need the whole building, or like the adjacent apartments need to also be treated, because if we're treating my apartment and this is still happening, like I've had pest control come multiple times and nothing has changed. They hadn't answered my emails because they were trying to schedule pest control when I was not in my apartment. And I was like, no, I want to be there so that I can see what they are doing and make sure that like they're not just again coming in and spraying, which, spoiler alert, that's what ended up happening even when they were here. But I don't know what they did in the other apartments necessarily. So they didn't answer my email about that. So I had gone up physically to the office, and the last email I had gotten from them was like Tuesday at 9 a.m. and I responded to it immediately. So by Friday at 3 p.m., no one had answered me. I went up there in person to go see the property manager, who I've had issues with before because she just lies for no reason, honestly. She is allergic to telling the truth. She can't just be straight up and say, oh, I forgot about this, or oh, it wasn't a priority for me. She'll just keep saying, we're working on it, we're addressing it. And it's not me, just me that says this. I've looked at reviews for like my apartment leasing company overall, and they basically just plop her at different communities when she gets too many complaints on the Google reviews at one of them, because literally every other review says the same thing. Like, she's so, unless it's like the first reviews when she first gets to a new place, those are like, oh, I think she's really trying to turn things around here. And then all of a sudden, all the reviews will become, she's been here for X many time. I feel like I have to follow up with her so much, and that my requests, emails never get answered, phone calls never get answered. You have to go see them in person. So I did go see them in person, took all of the pictures, showed everything that was going on. And of course, trying to save their behind, because they had had pest control go into my apartment so many times without this being solved. And at this point, I have been living with a roach infestation, killing again them every single day for about 2 months now. It started at the end of February, and this was the beginning of May when I talked to her. She even tried to make up the excuse like, oh, those kind of look like aphids. And I was like, actually, no. Like, you can zoom in on them and tell that that's not an aphid. Like, she pulled up a picture of an aphid, and me and my mom were literally just looking at each other. And after we left out of there, my mom was like, yeah, she was just lying through her teeth. So in that meeting, she says, okay, we're going to get pest control into your apartment and all of the adjacent apartments, like up and down and side to side. And I was like, great. And I didn't get any email or like any, your maintenance request has been put in. So I followed up by email that Monday. Well, technically I sent it, I think late Saturday. So they didn't see it, I'm assuming, until Monday. And so I followed up with them and was just like, hey, per our conversation, pest control is going to be coming at this time. I didn't get an email stating that they would be coming to my unit like the day and time, but I assume that is because I was the one who requested it. You know, since I went in person and was like, hey, pest control needs to come back. So trying to be passive aggressive because I guess she's just tired of dealing with me, which is like valid, but also if you would have just done your job from the first place or from the start, we wouldn't be here. You know what I'm saying? We would not have me being on your ass like this. Do I want something a little bit more orangey? Maybe not. I feel like this is like a neutral enough color to go with everything. I just feel like the cheeks are a little warm, you know? But, yeah, I want something a little bit more orangey. So what can I mix with this? I'm gonna try the slightest touch of this Old Bite Beauty, RIP to a real one, Arrowroot. What were these? They're Amuse Buche Liquified Lips, just to add a little bit more like orangey warmness to match the cheeks a little bit better. I felt like it was a little bit too, you know, straight up pink. Yeah, that's a little bit better. I'm also not finished talking about what I wanted to talk about or everything I wanted to talk about. And I know we're almost at mascara. So I probably will take the time to just be cleaning my makeup brushes, which I really need to do while I continue talking to you guys, because why not? Since I have things to talk about. And I feel like I need to do the life updates more often, but also sometimes I feel as though they're the least watched of my videos. Like, I get that a lot of people want to come for like reviews on specific things or like tutorials and things like that. And that's great. Again, I understand that, but sometimes I'm just like, I want to be able to talk about my life, but I also don't want it to feel like no one cares, or, you know, I don't mind talking to no one, but sometimes it can just feel like, oh, it's such a transactional thing, which I guess it is. I could, again, that's probably getting into the slippery slope about parasocial relationships on the internet, and I could do a whole separate video essay monologue like on that alone, so I will leave that specific subject alone. But sometimes I don't do updates often enough, you know, so then when I do updates, it just feels like I'm talking a lot or trying to put a lot of my life in one video, I guess. Anywho, in her quest to be passive aggressive with me about this, I guess because she was again mad that I was following up and on her ass, she ends up saying something to the degree of pest control has been scheduled for your unit. Doesn't tell me the day, the time, or anything like that, but just says pest control has been scheduled for your unit. And we don't release the communications between us and other tenants. I guess referring to the part where I was like, me and the other tenants will have our apartments accessed. And I said that I hadn't gotten an email about them saying that pest control was coming. I guess she took that as me wanting everyone's email, but again, that's not at all how the email was phrased. So I feel like it was just her trying to be passive aggressive. So she was trying to be passive aggressive and emailed that back. And I said, I know you can't release communications between like you and other residents to me as a resident. I was just saying that I hadn't gotten an email about pest control coming into my unit. To spot clean my brushes, I'm using the Eco Tools brush cleanser. I'll have everything listed below as per usual, since this wasn't a very like product focused video. After I had sent back the email saying like, I just hadn't gotten an email, so I was following up, making sure that it was actually scheduled. And she's going to respond, thank you, have a nice day. Like literally that is the only line of the email. And I was just like, see, when you do clownery, the clown comes back to bite. And now I have written evidence of you just being dismissive, just not taking care of the issue. The clownery really came back around to bite her because somehow pest control did not come on the regularly scheduled day. They didn't come. I was like, maybe they scheduled it for a different day, like Tuesday, waited around Tuesday, no one came. Waited around Wednesday, which is the normal pest control day, no one came. I even waited until Thursday because I was like, maybe there were a lot of people on the list and it was like more intensive than, you know, they thought at first. Maybe they found the source and all of that. Pest control did not come on Thursday. So end of day Thursday going into Friday, of course, I sent another email being like, I'm really confused because your email said pest control was scheduled, yet pest control did not come to my apartment this week. And I also pointed out, you know, I got this passive aggressive response when I was following up, and yet pest control didn't come. Like, obviously I needed to follow up to make sure because you didn't do what you said you were going to do for the umpteenth time. So she didn't even answer my email herself because she's a little PUSSY. She had someone else in the front office be like, oh, we understand that this is really distressing and we apologize for this slipping through the cracks and na. So they put me back on the pest control schedule and made sure to tell me like the specific day that pest control was coming. So pest control comes and again, basically does all of the same things. And I thought, okay, maybe they found the source, like they confirmed with me the area that I was seeing them. And I was like, yeah, still all of them basically on this conjoining wall, the hallway with the water heater and like my bathroom wall where it connects to my neighbors. Again, he doesn't spray or leave traps or anything, so I assume he must have found the source in another apartment and they're treating that apartment and things will be looking up. But no, I continue to see them. So after a Friday where I was literally on the toilet and I, at this point, like it was so difficult for me to go to my bathroom, so difficult for me to shower. I had started just showering at my sister's apartments, which they live 20 minutes away from me, 40 minutes round trip, almost an hour round trip if there wasn't traffic, just for me to go take a shower because I was scared of one jumping out at me. And then I was like, okay, I hadn't gone to the bathroom, or like I had gone to the bathroom, but I hadn't touched my butt to my toilet in the longest time. And I had resolved, okay, I'm going to actually sit on the toilet and touch my butt to it. Nothing's going to happen. I'll be fine. And of course, as I am literally putting my butt on the seat, one starts crawling up the wall. Literally the poop that I was trying to get out, like sucked itself back up into me. So I went and grabbed my bug spray, which at this point I had graduated from just hot shot and raid onto, what do you call it, ortho. And I was spraying it, and that bitch was still crawling up the ceiling. Like it went all the way up to the ceiling. I eventually had to like hit it and knock it down so that I could just like put the trigger and spray it and get it incapacitated. And I was like, they're literally so resistant. So I feel like whoever had the roach infestation or was the source of the roach infestation was just like using raid and ortho and like the stuff like that instead of getting it addressed, instead of reining in the professionals. And my sisters were just like, you know, some people are okay living like that. Some people are okay with that. And I was like, well, when you're in an apartment and the way that you live can impact other people, I just feel as though we should all be a little bit more considerate about what we're doing, how things come off, and how it might impact other people. So I killed that one, was going to get my broom to sweep it up, and I come out and there's another one like running on my drain in my kitchen. I killed that one and I was literally through with it. I had already sent an email because I had asked for, when I had emailed my front office being like, what the fuck, y'all said that there was going to be someone from pest control coming and no one came, and I got the passive aggressive response. I asked for a regional like corporate contact for someone, and they gave me like the resident care line, like their email and number. So I had sent an email to that resident care line, which allegedly, according to them, gets back to you within 48 hours. I still haven't gotten an email back from that line. So since it had been like over 72 hours at that point, since I had sent that email, I decided to call the resident care line number. And when I called, of course it was an outsource. And I understand that like everybody's got to eat, but why you as an apartment complex are outsourcing your complaints department essentially to another country is crazy to me. That is absolutely nuts. So I'm having to be on the phone with someone, trying to explain to them the situation going on, saying, hey, I actually emailed the line that you guys supposedly have, but no one emailed me back on that either. And I'm just sitting here being like, yeah, I've been living with this issue for literally months. The front office is lackadaisical about it, and it's making my apartment literally uninhabitable. I need a name of like a regional contact. And of course they were like, oh, well, all I can do is like put in a complaint with the apartment complex. They submit the complaint to the corporate office, and I was like, okay, go ahead and do that, just so that there is again a paper trail that I have exhausted literally every avenue to try to get this issue fixed. I then went up to the front office and was like, I need to speak to the front office or like the apartment property manager again. They were like, oh, she's just stepped out for a meeting with a vendor. It'll be about an hour. I can call you when she's back. A few hours go by, no one calls me, so I end up going back up there, and I guess they again thought that I would just leave it alone if no one called me. But at this point, they should know that I'm not just gonna leave this shit alone. So I went back up there, waited for about another 15-20 minutes while the office manager was hiding in her office. Miss Gingy, we don't need to do that. We don't need to knock things down. That's not nice. So I I ended up going in there and talking to her and basically being like, I literally just came from my apartment where I killed one as I was trying to go to the bathroom, and then killed another, walked out to try to get something to clean that one up and had to kill another one, like turn around and kill another one. It's the middle of the day. Like, that is not normal. And so she goes, I guess you're wanting to be let out of your lease. And I'm like, yeah, I do. I want to not live in a place where I'm literally having to like carry around a bottle of ortho from room to room because I don't know when something is going to pop out at me. So she's like, let's go inspect your apartment. Like, in order to let you out of your lease, I'm going to have to inspect your apartment. And I was like, I thought that would happen like when I'm moving out, but whatever. So she came, looked around my apartment, literally saw like the dead roaches I had just killed and how much bug spray I had to use for them. And she was like, oh, all of this like stain on your wall is the bug spray? And I was like, yeah, that's all of the bug spray that I had to use just to kill one roach. So she tells me, let me know when you think you would be able to get out of the apartment. And I was like, I think I need the weekend to think about it. Because she had mentioned legal having to get involved in disclosures specifically. And I was like, So I took the weekend, and when I was like going over it in my head, I was kind of like, well, I need to know what I will be responsible for financially. What is the process? Because I've never had to break a lease before. Like, the closest thing to breaking a lease I've ever had is being moved my freshman year of college from my first roommate because she was crazy. I could do a story time on that. But that is the closest thing to breaking my lease that I've had. And again, that was largely facilitated on my university side. I didn't really have to, do much except get the ball rolling initially. So I emailed that. I was like, what will I be responsible for? And they send me like the cleaning thing, and they're like, you'll be responsible for taking your apartment or getting your apartment into the state it was in when you first leased it, which I know is like covering up the holes in the walls and stuff like that. Aesthetic things like the paint and all of that is going to have to be redone, but cleaning the carpets, I get all of that. They also sent this thing where you could get express cleaning. It was where basically instead of you cleaning your apartment, you pay them, I think it was like $200 to just have their cleaning people clean it, which from my understanding, like, even though I clean the apartment when I move out, I feel as though an apartment should definitely still have people coming in and cleaning. So why would I pay for an enhanced cleaning when you should already be doing that? And it's no wonder that so many people who have moved in have been like, oh, I've moved into like a nasty apartment. It wasn't clean when I was scheduled to move in. So I sent back saying I've never been let out of a lease. I don't know what I am legally obligated to like pay. And they sent something else back that like didn't answer my question. They sent back saying that I would get a notice to vacate that I would sign and all of this stuff. And I was like, okay, can I see a sample of that language? Like, I want to see what I'm agreeing to before I give a date, because I unfortunately have the inkling that what they're trying to do is get me to say that I'll move out or vacate the apartment at a specific date so that they can then go back and say, oh, well, this is before your lease technically is supposed to end. And then I don't have anything written on my end saying that they were supposed to be letting me out of this lease for uninhabitable conditions. So I feel like they're trying to, again, get me to say a date so that they can then turn around and assess all of those broken lease and early move out and not giving a 60-day notice and all of that. So I said, can I see the verbiage that I would be agreeing to, that I would be signing, like a sample notice to vacate? They answer back like, oh, I don't know like what you mean. Like, what do you mean you want to see it? And I'm just like, I want to see whatever this notice to vacate form that I'm supposed to sign. I want to see a blank copy of it before I sign anything and before I give any date, or you know what I'm saying? Then finally a regional person stepped in and was like, hi, I can answer any questions you have. Great, look at the fucking email thread and answer the questions that were already there. Like, I have not answered back yet because I'm genuinely just like, is it a requirement for everyone to just be clueless to work at this apartment leasing property management company, because I'm not understanding what is so difficult about me asking, can I see a sample notice to vacate that I would be asked to sign? And also, what is my legal financial obligation on leaving the apartment? I want to see upfront, are they going to try to assess me all of these fees? Because if that's the case, then what I'll do is go through county code enforcement, you know what I'm saying? So I do need to answer that, but I'm literally just trying to, because I'm having a hard time finding a way to word an email that isn't basically just outright calling them stupid, because it's just like, I genuinely don't know how else I could phrase, I would like to see what I'd be signing, the contract I'd be signing before I sign it, and want to know what my full financial obligation would be upon moving out of here. I don't really know how many other ways to phrase that to get across the point that I just want to know, are you going to be assessing me these fees? And again, either you're clueless or y'all are intentionally trying to trap me with all of these fees. And I'm a little bit too smart for that. I'm smarter than the average beaver. So like, we have to maybe try something a little bit different. And this is, again, just continually piling evidence for me that y'all are negligent, that y'all are not trying to take care of things in a timely manner. In the meantime, though, I did get some suggestions, and I tried the Advion gel bait, which I heard a lot of good things about. And at first I thought it wasn't working, but I think that, again, the infestation was just bad enough that it took a second. So I haven't been seeing them in a hot second. And what I'm trying to do is get myself comfortable enough to start showering in my own shower instead of literally taking like hoe baths and going twice or 3 times a week to other people's places to shower. So I think what I'm gonna do is get a clear or a transparent, even if it has a color to it, but just transparent shower curtain. So that way I'll be able to see, like, there's just something in my mind that I'm like, oh, what if one is like crawling in between my shower curtain and curtain liner and I can't see it because both of those are opaque. So I want to get that, and maybe that will help me to be able to be like, okay, if I can't visibly see any spot moving around on here, then like I don't need to sit here and be worried about this happening. So that is the, oh gosh, and it's gnat season as well, and the gnats here are so bad. I need to boil some water and pour them down every single drain in here. But yeah, that is the current the facet, I guess. That has honestly been what has largely been taking over my life lately, because I mean, it's really difficult to think, to work, to write, to do anything, to make content when you are having your back against the wall constantly, or feeling like you're having your back against the wall in your own apartment. But thankfully, again, I haven't seen any in almost over a week now. So I'm hopeful that the Advion gel worked its magic in that part is largely over, though that does leave me in this space where it's like, okay, do I try to grin and bear it and stay here through the end of my lease, because it seems like the people at the front office are just unable to get it together, or do I try to leave? And if I try to leave, that also raises questions about, like right now I'm doing Rover and I do make a little bit of money from like TikTok and stuff like that, but it's definitely not enough for me to like move or to have the 3 times the income for a new apartment. So it's just like, do I want to get another full-time job or a part-time job? And that's partially the reason that I started doing Rover, which has been going really well. But those are all things that I can talk about in a different update. I can do another one of these if you guys are wanting to just sit and chat with me. But I do appreciate anyone who sat and chatted with me today. And I hope you're having a good time wherever you are, that you're staying safe and healthy, and you're not dealing with roaches in the cereal. So I hope you guys again are staying safe and healthy wherever you are when you're watching this, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.